were you saying it goes to your stand?
I fixed it.
You go get it, man.
Like, yeah, so I didn't know.
How's it going?
Awesome, thank you. You got to register to get tickets in. You got quick 10 seconds. I can get registered now. I think I have something at this time, but if not, I can scan the QR code, man.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Event tomorrow night, you gonna come?
And we're able to have meetings.
Some of these are off the wall here, buddy.
Yeah, I know. Some of them are a little off the wall. I think that's the point. Saw you flying down 13th the other day.
You know this. You support all these things?
I mean, not all of them. Not from a personal standpoint. Some of them I think are a little out there.
Why are they all together then? What's up?
Well, these are all the signs. We're making a big push for our event tomorrow night.
For what?
We have an event tomorrow night about cancel culture. We got some of our big
About
speakers
cancel
coming
culture?
out. Cancel culture. What do you think of that?
Okay.
I think it's retarded.
You think cancel culture's stupid? You should come to the event.
But this is stupid right here.
Which one? Socialism kills them?
That's retarded because it's conflating different ideas of socialism. Socialism, as far as used in governments, is totally different than the socialism like Bernie Sanders supports. But they don't even they just use socialism as if it paints the big everything.
Well, I think it's kind of supposed to be a little reactionary, don't you think?
Is that it?
Yeah.
I
I think you could make an argument for those figures. Depends on how you look at it.
Oh yeah.
Hey, well, this one's not about socialism.
The government sucks more. What's wrong with the University of Georgia? Besides Georgia being a high crime place.
It's just, like school rivalry. That's kind of what we're playing to with that one. Yeah. We're getting an FSU one too. Another, good rivalry.
I don't need government to succeed. Yeah, right.
Do you think you need government to succeed?
I mean, you need something.
What do you think?
Someone's got to make the rules, because if you don't make the rules, then it's up to state versus state. And if you do state versus state, you go to one state, it's completely different from another state. You don't have any uniformity.
I think it's more arguing, against like the welfare state type stuff.
The welfare state? What do you mean?
Was in like government health programs like that. I think that a lot of those.
So they're against Medicare for all?
Probably, I'd assume so. Since socialized medicine is kind of.
Even though we're the last developed country to really have any, not have anything, yeah.
You got any experience with like Canada's socialized medicine system?
Well, it's better than ours.
I don't know.
We might have good health care, but they have everyone supported up there.
They have everybody supported unless it's a 3-month wait for a transplant.
Well,
it's
better than dying here and not having any coverage and being kicked off your medical coverage for reasons,
Well,
for XY reasons. And a lot of people not having any preventive because they don't have insurance and they don't go because it costs too much and they got to pay out of their pocket for it and they got the big deductibles and depending what state you go to, like California, you get fucked.
Well, now I think you've got more issues with the healthcare system than you're talking about issues with the government.
But, the government should really have Medicare for all so we don't have to worry about deductibles and everything like that.
Well, then you just got to worry.
I'd rather wait 3
really high
months.
taxes.
I'd rather wait 3 months than not have anything done at all.
Well, I'd rather, not pay as much taxes to where if I do think that I need healthcare, I can afford it.
But a lot of people can't afford it.
Why can't people afford it?
Deductibles, large, and then eventually the insurance company's not going to pay for all of it, so you got to pay up $1,000 that people can't afford, especially low-income people.
Well, then again, I think you got a problem with the insurance company, not the government.
I think the government would have to oversee.
Well, that's one thing, but I don't think full-on.
Then we're talking about big government again.
Well, I don't think full-on socialized medicine is the solution, because that's
that's what all those countries have.
That's
what the UK has. They're doing great.
Who's to say?
Them?
That's good. Yeah.
Them?
Yeah.
What makes you
and
think
us
they're
looking
doing
at them? Oh, you have a baby, you come out there, it doesn't cost you anything. You don't get a bill when you get done delivering a baby. Sure, you pay a little more taxes, but everything's covered.
Huh?
Everything's covered. People here are dying.
I think people in the UK are dying too.
Not because they're not being seen by a doctor.
Well, what are they dying from then? If everybody can be seen by a doctor in the UK, then why are people still dying?
Are you a police
People die from many things they can't be helped from.
Where are you going after this?
They're not being saved by stuff over. We're not being saved by stuff over here that they're not over there. It's the medicine's the same. It's just that they got more coverage.
I thought about law school for a long time, but I don't think it's
So I don't really think that healthcare is a human right. I know that that's
Oh, definitely right. I mean, if we're going to have police and fire and all that, and public schools, we're going to have all this. Why do we not have medicine? The one thing that matters the most to people, why is that not being covered? Health is a little more important than, or just as important as fire and police responding to things you need that we pay taxes for. Public education just as important. Shouldn't we take care of our population? Because without population, what kind of country would we have? We wouldn't really have a country.
But I want
I guess we just disagree. I don't think it's a human right. I know that's the thing that they push for with socialized medicine, is that healthcare is some kind of human right, but I don't think.
You don't think it's a right to be healthy in your own country?
I don't think that it's a human right that the government has to provide for. I think that there's rights that there's.
Do you feel the same about police? We don't need police.
I mean, like I don't think that police are a human right per se.
You don't think so? Fire? We don't need fire either.
Well, I think those things are important, but I don't think that anybody's making the argument that they're human rights either.
So even though people die without insurance and don't get seen and can't afford their deductibles and all that, if they even have insurance, if they die, it's not as important. It's not that important.
I'm not saying it's not unimportant. I think people
if it's important, then they should be covered.
Well, I think people should get insurance. I think insurance should be cheaper, but I don't think that the government should be the one footing the bill for all of it.
It should be dirt cheap. If it's going to be available, if everyone needs to be able to get it, it needs to be dirt cheap is what it needs to be. And the only way to make it dirt cheap is to be subsidized by taxes and some kind.
So did you like Obamacare, I'm assuming?
Obama tried, but he couldn't get as much passed as he wanted. Yeah, he let people stay on until they're 26, and that's good. Other little things he did, which was good, and for people who got on it back then, they were able to get really cheap insurance and keep it even until today, which is good. But I really think the best move would have been what Bernie was going to do, Medicare for all. We can afford it.
Well, so I'll say, I think there were some flaws with Obamacare. I don't think Obamacare was perfect. I would be more.
Oh yeah,
likely,
of course it wasn't perfect. He couldn't do everything.
I'd be more likely to support a system more like that than what Sanders wishes.
Why not? Why?
Because I do think that there's people who can't afford it,
right?
And for those people who can't afford it, it should be made more accessible to them, and that's why you have things like Medicaid. Medicaid is for people who can't afford it,
right?
So if you expanded Medicaid to cover more, I think.
But then you got to apply for it. You're not always going to get it, and a lot of things depend on whether you get it or not. It's not just handed to you.
I know it's not just handed to you, but then you're talking about reform with Medicaid.
Yeah.
But I don't believe Medicare.
Why don't you support Medicare for all?
Because I think it raises. You're going to have to raise taxes.
That's okay. What's wrong with that?
I don't like higher taxes.
Well, we have to pay higher taxes to pay for everything. And anyways, corporations aren't paying as much as they should because they're hiding their money overseas and stuff like that. We give loopholes to them so they don't have to pay the kind of taxes they should pay. So they're not really paying as much taxes.
Well, so I'm assuming that you're supporting the policy that he's pushing now.
Well, if we can close out loopholes so corporations can stop moving their money overseas to hide it from being taxed, I think that's a big bonus because right now the people are what is making up all the tax money the government's not getting. They put it in all short words, but the millions and billions of dollars that they're hiding that could be going towards taxes would make things much better.
Well, then they're just going to completely move out of the U.S.
That's fine, but there are.
Well, then you're losing.
No, we're not. We're not because those are people who are used to a certain standard in life. Just like the people who don't want to pay, a higher minimum wage for people. Instead, they're making their prices more expensive on their menus instead of actually paying for it because they're used to a certain way of life and they don't want to go lower than that. They don't want to, but the people need a better way of life. So what's going to happen if those people want to leave the country and they want to leave, then they can go ahead and leave. That's fine. There will be people who will start new corporations to do what they did, who will be okay with the way of life because they'll still be making more money than they were without the company. But they won't need to always be balling like them and require and not have this entitlement like, no, I should be able to keep it all. And if this new law is going to come and they need more money, then I'm going to raise. If I can't raise my menu prices or I can't do this, do it, then I'm just going to move. If they're not going to be in that mentality.
Well, I think you're giving a little bit too much credit to the good faith of humanity then.
So you think less of humanity. You think that people would not want.
I think that it's in a business owner's best interest to make as much
Of
money
course
as
it
they
is.
can.
Of course. So they will make as much money as they can in the atmosphere in which they are. And if things change here,
So why should the government be enforcing policy that forces these business owners to make less money and to settle for less money?
well, if they can't, if raising their menu prices isn't going to do it, which is really not going to do it for too long, and they have to dip into what they make to make up for what, then that's just the way it is.
A government policy that raises minimum wage
Yes.
forces business owners to make less money.
Well,
So that's the government enforcing policy
However,
that's stealing from the pocket of business
no,
owners.
that's not stealing.
Yes, it is.
No, it's,
I mean, it's not physical stealing. It's not like they're taxing them more, but
Right.
they've enacted a policy that forces them to make less.
well, it forces them to come up with the money to pay those people, and whether they do it through raising the prices or accepting less money. However, they need to do it to make that happen. You're trying to say it's going to force them to make less. Not necessarily. If they can raise their prices, and people are willing to pay for those additional prices to cover it, so they can not make less money. Then they can go with that. But if they can't and they have to take less money, then that's what
now
they have to do.
you've just added an extra tax to consumers. Consumers are now having to pay more for everything.
Only if the business raises their prices and the people put up with the raised prices.
The business is going to raise their price because
We see that all the time right now. What people have to do.
Luke's
that.
Bagels. I eat at Luke's Bagels all the time. His prices are up,
But what-
and it got a sign on the door that says it's because of minimum wage laws.
Well, that's not because of minimum wage laws per se. That's because the owner wanted to find a way to bring that revenue in without having to lose money from himself.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with someone making less money because they have to
There-
compensate for being in the country in order to support the people who live there.
How do you know
I
that he
don't-
wasn't already breaking even?
There's-
And now he's losing
there's
money and getting
nothing-
raised prices.
Well, then there has to be a newer business model to where he can follow and make money.
Raising prices. It's
There's
the only
Right. Then if that's the only way, then that's the only way. Depends.
I don't think there's anything wrong with a business owner choosing to make less money to pay his employees more. I do think that there's something wrong when the government is basically forcing those business owners to make less money to pay their employees.
If they have no way of raising the prices, if they don't have something that they do to raise prices, and then they have to do that, then that's what you have to do to play ball in order to have a company in this country, and that's just the way.
But
it
why
is.
should we be putting all these regulations on these companies in the first place? Now we get back to the
in order to
argument
pay
of
the
big
taxes,
government.
in order to pay their taxes, so to work the taxes they owe, right? Isn't that what we were talking about the first time? They have to pay their taxes.
Hey, do you think cancel
How
culture is
does
dumb?
I don't think more minimum wage,
You missed Dr. Seuss.
a higher minimum wage makes companies pay more taxes into the government. I don't get what you're meaning.
Okay,
by
I
that
thought
one.
we were talking about companies not paying their taxes and hiding overseas and make them pay their taxes.
Well, I think minimum wage and corporation tax are
Okay.
entirely
So minimum wage.
different.
Okay. Well, if their only way is to take in less, then someone else is going to come up with a better plan to still make money and have a business and still get by better than without. And then they'll do it, and they'll replace that business that didn't want to do it, right?
So you're by government policy,
Mm-hmm.
you're forcing these business owners out of business.
If they do not change, yes.
Okay, and so have you been to any of the McDonald's with the order kiosks?
Yes, I have. They're not working right now, but yes.
Oh, okay. I haven't been to one where they don't work. I
Well,
think they work well at my local McDonald's.
Well, they're not working now because the pandemic, so they don't let people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I haven't been in because McDonald's just go through the drive-through most of the time. But so when the pandemic's over, I mean, systems like that are as technology gets better, the human worker becomes obsolete at some point in a lot of industry.
Okay. Sure. I
So
understand.
if you're raising minimum wage, they don't have to raise prices of menus. They just have to cut
This
these
job
jobs
is
and
making
replace
so
them
much more
with
money.
machines.
Yeah, there's no problem with that.
Well, so then you have a lot of job loss.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of job loss with automation.
And you don't think that's an issue?
Well, that is an issue, but it's not going to be solved by not giving people the things they need. I mean, we still need Medicare for all. We still need people to be, covered for any situation. Automation is going to take over everything, especially when we create AI and then we completely replace everybody in those businesses. Then yeah, we're completely going to be out of jobs.
Of course, I think, but now you're talking about utopian society almost.
Well, that's not going to be utopian, but yeah.
Well, if you
Not
get,
yet.
If you get to the point where AI and machines are so good that they
Yeah.
make human workers obsolete, nobody
Yeah.
works.
That's correct.
That basically
Yeah.
is a utopia.
But by doing it's called ANI right now, which is what we're doing with the kiosks and everything, by doing that, yeah, we're going to get rid of a lot of jobs, and that's true. That is true.
And see, I think that's a part of the future eventually. As technology, there's undeniably no way around that.
Right.
As technology,
Definitely not. Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think that you're forcing that job loss at a quicker rate when you do things like raise the minimum wage. When you do all these policies that force businesses to have to make cuts in other places to keep their same revenue.
Well, you know,
Because you even admitted that
things cost more, right? I mean, when I lived here, when I went to college here, I could get an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment for $400. I can't do that here in this town anymore. Not a decent apartment. Things cost a lot more. So,
I think that's more supply and demand.
You
become
have-
a more desirable school to go to.
Yeah.
More people want to come here. You can raise those rates. You force
prices
people
in
into
lots
it.
of areas, not just that, go up, and
Yeah.
you have to help. Someone who works full time needs to be able to pay their bills. So you can't have someone working full time and making so much less than what we think they should be making, and expect them to get by and cover their insurance and everything.
Well, I think it's pretty feasible to live on minimum wage if you're truly working full time. If you're
at the holiday
just yourself. I mean, I agree that you shouldn't be trying to take care of kids and family members on minimum wage, but I don't think that's what minimum wage is designed to cover.
And it should be designed to cover people so they can take care of themselves and others that they have. That's why to raise the minimum wage, people can afford more things.
But what I'm saying, so if you've got two people in a household,
Uh-huh.
that's two incomes.
Right. Unless she's not working, she's just had a kid, she's home.
Okay,
Then
well,
Why are you having kids without being able to afford them? And why is it somebody
That's
else's,
why.
why is it somebody else's choice to provide for them? If they
It's
can
not someone
afford
else's choice.
them? I mean, somebody else's obligation to provide for a lifestyle that you chose to have. We're all about personal responsibility and
Sure.
personal choices.
That's why you raise minimum wage so people can afford more.
No,
Yeah, but
I think the market is what sets wage. That's it.
I think the market is what sets wage,
Yep.
which is going to be lower than what they should
No,
be
it could be
making
higher.
compared to inflation.
It could be higher.
20 years ago,
Amazon,
things were
nobody
different.
told Amazon to make it $15 minimum wage, but they did it anyways.
Right.
So you don't need government to tell people
For
or
them,
companies.
but not for lots of other places.
Yeah. So if you want to make $15 an hour, you can work for Amazon, or you can work somewhere else that has better growth opportunities. It's all about choices. Choices.
I think if you raise
Not
the minimum wage,
forcing anybody to. Nobody wants to force you to work. Nobody's going to force you to pay somebody, an employee, what you don't want them to get paid. If they don't want to take the job, they don't take it. That's it.
But
Choices.
if you raise minimum wage, you have to worry about people making shit for money. They'll be able to live working full time no matter where they work, which is the whole point.
That's not true
they'll be
because
fired.
California, it's $15 minimum wage, and it has 33% of the entire country's homeless population.
Well,
So the disparity,
people are homeless for many
the
reasons.
disparity between rich and poor. is
people aren't
even
homeless
bigger.
just because they can't work full time.
That is not.
Well, why else
Yeah, no,
are-
they're
why are
homeless because they have
people
issues for the
Oh,
most
so
part.
everybody is homeless because of that issue.
I didn't say everybody. I said majority of people
What's that,
have
dude?
issues they
How do you
can't
know
work.
do you think cancel
Regardless,
culture
it's pointless to the conversation. It's about.
It's,
It's
you,
about
can't,
choice.
you can't just grab all homeless and say, look, this is why they can't. This is why we can't do it.
Hi there.
It doesn't work.
Hello, America. Freedom. I got a full net tomorrow.
It was good talking to you, man.
All right, buddy.
Every time I talk to you, you got some good points. It's good to talk to somebody that you disagree with.
Yeah. come
If you're
on up.
interested,
If you
that's
wanna
got a
come on
Q&A
up tomorrow,
session.
We've got a Q&A. Yeah.
Sure.
I'm sure you'd have a lot to say about what they say.
Depends on what we're talking about. All right.
Cancel culture, that's the whole topic.
Thanks a lot. All right, so I don't know. Answer culture. Alright guys, well that was a little bit different there. Thought I was going to run into something a little more controversial. I guess that's controversial, but I don't know. What do you guys think? I have no problem with Medicare for all. I have no problem with Medicare for all or raising the minimum wage. I don't understand their defense for not raising minimum wages. You know, it'll hurt business owners or something. I don't understand. Okay, so a business owner has to make a little less money in order to pay people. I mean, things cost more in society. You're in society. You're having to exist within the society, and society things cost a certain amount of money. People need to afford it, and they need to. If they're working full time, they need to pay for things. You know, they're like, well, let the market decide. If we let the market decide, I don't know, guys. I mean, I guess there's good points either side. I wouldn't mind your input. Fortunately, this one's not about religion. It's hard for me to hear someone say that health insurance or health is not a right. I mean, if you live in a society and you need to be well in order for society to function, I think it's pretty important to give people the means to be healthy in order to keep surviving in society. Because without a society, you have that shitty country. I mean, people die and it's not good. You want people to live. It sounds like the thing to do is to make sure that they can live by giving them all insurance, or not insurance, even medical help, free medical help. So what if you pay a little more taxes? Big deal. Oh, he doesn't want to pay more taxes. You're already paying taxes, more taxes by schools, fire, police. You pay more taxes for these things. So, you want to pay more taxes for your health, even though it's like super important? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know, guys. Tell me what you think.